Hello everybody. We are discussing the chapter Animal Kingdom, chapter 4 of class 11th biology. In the part 1 of this chapter, we have already discussed the basics of classification of animal kingdom, and in this part we will discuss phylum Porifera, phylum Coelenterata or Cnidaria and phylum Ctenophora. So let us start the discussion with phylum Porifera. The members of this phylum are commonly known as sponges, and all sponges are aquatic. They are mostly marine, and only freshwater sponge, that is Spongilla, is there. This is very important. The only freshwater sponge, Spongilla. Okay, and these sponges are, as the phylum name itself says, that porifera means pore bearing animals. So it includes all the pore bearing animals which are called sponges. And coming to the symmetry of the body, they are asymmetrical. As you know that symmetry of the body is one of the basis of classification of the animal kingdom. So looking into the symmetry of the body, these organisms do not have any specific symmetry like bilateral or radial symmetry. So their body is asymmetrical. They are solitary or colonial. Solitary means they may remain alone, or colonial means they may remain in group. But all of them are sessile. Sessile means they are attached to the substratum. They are fixed to a substratum. Okay, substratum means any surface to which these organisms are attached. And I have also told you that the cell level of organization is one of the basis of classification. So coming to the level of organization, they have cell aggregate level of organization, or that is also known as cellular level of organization. So the cellular level of organization means here different types of cells are present, but these cells form an aggregate. But that aggregate of cell is not known as tissue. That is simply the aggregate of cells. And these aggregate of cells perform a very specific function. And digestion in this organism is intracellular. Means even though the organism is multicellular, the digestion takes place inside the cell only. So there is no digestive system or digestive organ or digestive tissue is there. So whatever food they take, that goes to the cell, specific cell, digestive cell, and inside that cell the digestion of the food takes place. Now we'll discuss the skeleton of the sponges. So here you can see the structure, some thread-like structure, thread-like branch structures are also there. So these thread-like branch structures are called the spicules. Okay, but here you can also see the fiber-like network structure, that is known as spongine fiber. So the skeletal system of the sponges consists of either spongine fiber or siliceous spicules. So siliceous means what? They may be made up of silicon carbonate, okay, or they may be calcareous spongine fiber. So what is the role of skeleton of sponges? So since they are present internally inside the body, so they provide the framework, or you can say the mechanical support to the body. So here you can see some of the picture of different types of sponges. So here you can see this is a sponge. As I have told you that some of them are solitary, means they live alone. So this is one such sponge which lives alone. But here you can see they form a colony, Calispongian. So here the sponges are present in a group. So here also they are present in a group. But here in Euplectella it is a single sponge. and their whole body contains very minute pores. That's why they are the pore bearing animals. And how they stand upright on the substratum. Substratum means any surface to which they are attached. So this is the substratum, and they stand upright on the substratum due to the presence of these siliceous spicules or the spongin fibers. So when they form reticular structure, fibrous structure, then that is known as spongin fiber. And if they form the thread-like branched structure, so these are called the spongin. These are called the siliceous spicules. So they may be made up of calcium carbonate or silicon carbonate. Okay. Now next, some unique features of sponges. So they have ostia and oscula. I'll show you the picture so that it will be clear to you. Presence of canal system and skeleton made up of spicule and spongin fiber. Just before this slide, I have shown you the skeleton of the sponges, that is the spicules and the spongin fibers. That is the very, very specific feature of the sponges. And besides that, the presence of canal system is the unique feature of this phylum, which is not found in any other phyla. So this canal system consists of minute pores, that is called ostia, and a large opening, that is called oscula. Okay. So these three features which are unique to the sponges are very, very important. So let us discuss these structures one by one. First is your canal system. So let us discuss the canal system. What is canal system? As you know, the canal system is prepared for the transport of the water from a river to a particular region. Okay. So similarly, here in the body of sponge also, the canal system is made in this way so that the transportation of water throughout the body takes place in a very, very specific manner. Then what does this canal system consist of? So this consists of very minute pores which are present on the surface of the body. They are called ostia. So here in this picture you can see these are the minute pores which are called ostia, and there is a big opening at the anterior-most end, that is called osculum. So a single large opening is present at the anterior end, and a number of small minute openings throughout the body called ostia are present. And besides that, a large cavity is present at the center, that is called spongiocele. So the canal system consists of the minute pores present throughout the surface of the body called ostia, a very large opening at the anterior end of the body, osculum, and a large cavity at the center of the body, that is called spongiocele. So here you can see this is the spongiocele. So this constitutes the canal system. Now how the transport of water takes place? Okay, so here what happens, through the ostia, the water enters into the body, then the water, so you can see here the ostia, a number of ostia are there, and here is a canal, and through this canal the water enters into the body. Now the water circulates in the spongiocele, the big cavity, the large cavity present at the center of the body. Now after circulation, the water is removed out or exit out through a large opening, that is called osculum. So this is the simplest type of canal system I have shown you in this picture, but some more complex type of canal systems are also there. So this sponge's body, as you can see, there is a pink color layer, very distinct layer is there, and that constitutes the outer layer of the body, and a inner layer of the body that is made up of yellow color cells. Okay, so this outermost layer consists of pinacocyte cells, so it is also called pinacoderm cells. Similarly, the inner layer composed of the choanocyte cells. Flagellated cells are there. Here you can see that each cell is having a flagella. So these are the flagellated cells called choanocyte cells. So it is called choanoderm, or it is also called gastroderm. Okay. So this is the canal system. Now coming to the function of canal system. This canal system helps in gathering of the food, exchange of the gases, and also removal of the waste. So how it gathers the food? See, when the water enters through the ostia into the body, the food along with the water current is taken into the body. Now inside the spongiocele, when the water is circulating, which contains the food particle, that food particles are absorbed by these cells, innermost layer of the cells, that is the gastrodermal cells, and these cells, inside these cells, the digestion of the food takes place. And after digestion, the excretory materials are removed from the cell into the spongiocele, and from the spongiocele, along with the water, when the water is excited out, along with the water, the waste materials are also removed. Besides that, the water that enters into the body that contains dissolved oxygen, and that dissolved oxygen is absorbed by the cells present in the body during its circulation, and the carbon dioxide is released out of the cell. So in this way, the canal system is helpful in gathering the food and respiratory exchange, and also removal of the waste. So I have already told you, these yellow color cells are the choanocyte cells or the polar cells. Now come to the reproduction in sponges. The sexes are not separate. That means the sponge, a single sponge, has both male and female sexual cells, or the germ cells. Both type of germ cells are present. So they are called hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite means bisexual animals. The bisexual animals are also called hermaphrodite. That means a single individual can produce the eggs and sperms, but in most of the sponges, the eggs and sperms are produced at a different time. That's why the self-fertilization is not possible. The cross-fertilization takes place. Okay, the self-fertilization can take place only when the eggs and the sperms will be produced at the same time. So if the eggs are produced earlier but the sperms are not produced, then the eggs have done a very specific lifespan. So after completing that lifespan, they will die. So they undergo cross-fertilization. The sponges reproduce asexually by the process of fragmentation, and you know that the fragmentation means when the body is divided into small pieces, then each piece regenerates to form a new sponge. That is called fragmentation and regeneration. And it reproduces sexually by the formation of the gametes, that is the eggs and sperms. And this is very important to remember. The fertilization is internal and development is indirect. So fertilization is internal means inside the body only the fusion of the egg and the sperm takes place. So the fertilization is internal. Development is indirect, means once the zygote is formed after the fusion of the eggs and the sperms, the zygote do not develop into the adult directly. Rather, it passes through a larval stage, and such type of development is called indirect development. So, there are two types of development, direct and indirect. So, direct development is the type of development where the zygote directly develops into the adult. The zygote develops into embryo, then the embryo develops into the adult. But in indirect development, the zygote develops into embryo, the embryo develops into a larva, then the larva undergoes metamorphosis to develop into an adult organism. Okay, so these larvae are morphologically distinct from the adult. So if you look into the larva, you cannot say that it is a sponge. So the larval stage and the adult stage are totally different from each other morphologically. Then asexual reproduction in sponges. Here you can see how the asexual reproduction, the most common type of asexual reproduction is fragmentation or fission. So here you can see the yellow color picture shows the sponge body, the colonial sponge body is here. The sponge body is fragmented. Here you can see the dotted red lines are there. So suppose these portions are fragmented. So here the three fragments are there. Now each fragment will attach to the substratum, then it will start developing, and you can see that here each fragment, this is one of the fragment, and this fragment has developed the osculum, then the ostia are there, then it develops the spongiocele and the whole body. Now this is the substratum to which it remains attached. So in this way, the regeneration capacity is very high. That's why the most common method of asexual reproduction is fragmentation. But besides fragmentation, the sponges also undergo asexual reproduction by the process of budding. And generally this budding is internal budding. Okay, and less often they have external budding too. So in internal budding, the structure that is bud off is called gemmule, and inside the gemmule the spores are there. Now when the gemmule matures, the spores are released through the osculum and they develop into a new organism. So here you can see this is the external budding is shown here. You can see that a bud external outgrowth is developed, and that outgrowth develops the osculum, then ostia, then it develops the spongiocele. When it develops fully, so here you can see it takes the particular phase of growth is there, and after that particular phase of growth, they get separated from the plant body and they attach to the substratum and develop into new sponge. So this is how the budding takes place like other organisms. This is external budding, but internal budding also takes place in sponges, which is very common. Now sexual reproduction. Here we can see as I have told you that the sponges are hermaphrodite. They can produce the sperm and egg. A single individual can form the sperm and egg, but they produce the sperm and egg at different time. So the cross fertilization takes place. So here you can see that in this picture, this sponge is producing the sperm. It doesn't mean that it cannot produce the egg. It can produce the egg, but the egg is not produced simultaneously with the sperm. So the sperms are released fast, but this sponge moves to the another sponge where the egg is produced first. Okay, so now here in this picture, third picture, you can see how the sperms have come in contact with the egg, and now the sperm fuses with the egg to form the zygote. Then the zygote divides to form a larva. So here you can see this larva is developing. Then this larva gets separated from the body and it releases through the osculum. So this is the osculum. Through the osculum, the larva is released, and after a period of time, it leads a free swimming life, and after that, it attaches to the substratum and grows to a new sponge, adult sponge. So here is the larva which is released from the osculum. Now it has settled down. This larva is carried by the water current to different places. In this way the dispersion takes place, you can say. So now the adult sponge has been formed. So in this way the sexual reproduction takes place in a cyclic way. Now let us discuss some of the examples of sponges. The common examples are Cycon, Euspongia, Euplectella, Cliona, Leucosolenia, Spongilla. So here I can tell you that it is very important to know the common name of these sponges. The Cycon is commonly known as Scypha or horn sponge. Euspongia is commonly known as bark sponge. Euplectella is commonly known as Venus flower basket. Cliona, it is commonly called as boring sponge, and this boring sponge is harmful to the oysters. Leucosolenia, it is the smallest sponge, very important. Spongilla is only freshwater sponge, and other sponges are marine water living. Then Hyalonoma, it is a glass rope sponge. Spongilla, I have already told you, it is the freshwater sponge. So here I will show you the picture of the sponge which I have told you, the common type of sponge. This is the Cycon. Then this is Euspongia, which is known as bath sponge, common bath sponge. This is Spongilla, freshwater sponge. This is Euplectella. You can see very beautiful these sponges are. These are known as Venus flower basket. So in Japan, in marriages or in any ceremony, people used to give these sponges as the gift. Cliona, it is known as boring sponge, and as I have told you that they are dangerous for the oysters. So next is Leucosolenia. So here you can see this is the structure. So these are the common type of sponges, and you have to remember the common name of these sponges. Now let us discuss the phylum Coelenterata or the Cnidaria. They are also aquatic, mostly marine, but freshwater forms are also there. They are sessile or free swimming. So some members of these phylum may remain attached to the substratum, or some may be free living like Hydra. The Hydra has tentacles. They can move from one place to another place. They can swim in water. And coming to the symmetry, their body is radially symmetrical, and the phylum is known as Cnidaria because they have a very special type of cell that is known as defensive cell, which defends the body and also helps in capturing the prey. those cells are known as nidoblast cell. And due to the presence of these nidoblast cell, this phylum is known as Cnidaria. Okay, and these Cnidarians have the tissue level of organization. That means the cells are aggregated together to form a tissue, and each type of tissue form a specific function. And the body is the diploblastic. That means body wall consists of two layers, that is ectoderm and endoderm, in between which the mesoglea, the jelly-like layer, is present, which provides flexibility to the body as well as mechanical support to the body. And these organisms have a central cavity that is called gastrovascular cavity with a single opening that is called mouth, and this mouth is present on a dome-shaped structure, that dome-shaped structure is called hypostome. So that cavity is called, the central body cavity is called gastrovascular cavity, because in this cavity mainly the digestion of the food takes place. The specificity of the digestion is that here both extracellular and intracellular digestion takes place. When the food enters into the body, the food is digested inside the gastrovascular cavity first, and after partial digestion, the food enters into the nutritive cells. So they have different types of cells, nutritive cells, and the rest of the food are digested inside the nutritive cells. And some of the Cnidarians, for example, the corals have a skeleton, and that skeleton is made up of calcium carbonate. So let me show you what is nidoblast cell. So this is a defensive cell of the Cnidarians, present in all the Cnidarians. So this cell is also known as nematocyst cell or nematoblast cell, and they are present in large number in the tentacles of the organisms of this particular phylum, and they have a, you can see in this picture, in this diagram, you can see here there is a thread tube, and here is, this is a cell, actually the whole thing is a single cell. So here you can see this is the cytoplasm, and here is the nucleus, and here what happens, it secretes some poisonous fluid, and when any prey comes in contact with this, the nidocele, here you can see a spine-like structure is present, that is nidocele. The nidocele pierces the body of the prey, and then this stylet, this tube-like structure, pours the poisonous substance, poisonous fluid on the prey, and the prey is paralyzed. Okay, so in this way the nidoblast cell protects the organism that bears it, and also it helps in capturing the food. So these nidoblast cells are also used for anchorage, that means to cling to any substance or any surface, and capturing the prey and defense. One of the most important feature of this particular phylum is dimorphism, that is also known as polymorphism. So they exhibit polymorphism, that means morphologically they appear in different form, and these different forms perform different functions. So the most common type of body plans or body types are the polyps and medusa. What is polyp? Here you can see in the picture, here the same organism, both are the same organism, but they have two types of body plan. So here you can see the polyp stage. It is also known as the vegetative stage, and which is sessile. Okay, they are sessile, attached to the substratum, and they reproduce asexually. They reproduce asexually, very very important. So this is called the vegetative phase of the organism, that is the polyp. This is sedentary phase. The next phase is the medusa. Here you can see this body plan is somewhat different from the previous one. So here you can see the mouth is there. The mouth is located on a dome-shaped structure, as I have told you, that is the hypostome, and this is a free swimming stage, that is medusa. Remember, the medusa is the reproductive phase and polyp is the or we can say the medusa is the sexual phase and polyp is the asexual phase. So polyp reproduces asexually to produce the medusa, and the medusa reproduces sexually to produce the polyp. So they show a kind of alternation of generation in their life cycle. So that kind of alternation of generation is known as metagenesis. Very very important. The metagenesis is the type of alternation of generation seen in case of cnidarians. So what are the two phases? That is polypoid phase and medusoid phase. The polyp and medusa. Medusa is the sexually reproducing phase. Polyp is the asexually reproducing phase. They alternate with each other in their life cycle. Here I have shown you the metagenesis. But one thing you should know, that all the organism or the animals of this group do not involve medusa and polyp, but most of them have both polyp and medusa. So here you can see this is the life cycle of Obelia, is a type of common type of cnidaria. So this is the vegetative phase of the Obelia. So it is the polyp. Okay. So this polyp reproduces asexually, or you can say vegetatively, by formation of the buds. So these are the budded off. These portions are budded off. Now this part is it can swim freely, and sometimes they release two different types of buds, and that buds will develop into the female medusa and male medusa. The female medusa and male medusa, as I have told you, these are the sexual phases. The female medusa produces the egg, the male medusa produces the sperm. Now the egg and the sperm fuse together to form the zygote. Then the zygote undergoes continuous mitotic division. Then it forms the different stages of the embryo. Then it forms a larval stage. So it involves a larval stage. That's why the development is indirect. Then this larva, very very specific name is given to this larva, that is called planula. Okay. So now the zygote develops into embryo, then the embryo develops into a larva, that is called planula. Now this planula settles down at a place and develops into polyp. Okay. So this is the life cycle where the polyp and the medusa are alternating with each other. So that's why this shows alternation of generation, and this is called metagenesis, where the polyp produce medusa asexually and medusa forms the polyp sexually. So some common example of cnidaria along with their common name: Phagelia, that is Portuguese man of war; Adamsia, sea anemone; Pennatula, sea pen; Gorgonia, sea fan; Mindarina, brain coral. So I'll show you the picture. You can see the Phagelia. So during war, the Portuguese man used to wear a cap, which seems like this. Okay, that's why it is known as Portuguese man of war. Then Adamsia, this is a commensal relationship you can see. So here is the your Cnidaria, that is Adamsia. Okay, this is the Adamsia, which is living as a commensal relationship with a snail. Okay, and what is commensalism? Commensalism means it is the type of relationship between two living organisms where one is benefited and other one is neither harmed nor benefited. So it is the type of relationship where only one is benefited and other is neutral. Okay, so such type of relationship is there between the Adamsia and the snail. Then Pennatula, it is just like the pen. It is as you know that in the ancient age people used to write with the structure that is as a pen. It is like this structure, that's why it is known as sea pen. Then Gorgonia, it is as you know, it is you can see that the structure of this organism is just like the hand pen, so it is known as sea pen. Mendrina, so at your first look you can see that it is the structure of a human brain. Okay, that's why it is commonly known as brain, that is your brain animal. Then phylum Ctenophora. The ctenophores are commonly known as sea walnuts or comb jelly, and they are found only in the marine habitat. No freshwater individuals are there. Their body is radially symmetrical. They are diploblastic like the cnidarians, and they have tissue level of organization. And the body bears 8 external rows of ciliated comb plates. I will show you the picture, which helps in locomotion. But in Cnidaria, the tentacles are present and those tentacles helps in locomotion. But here the comb plates helps in locomotion. Digestion is both extracellular and intracellular. This is the common feature in Cnidaria and Ctenophora. Then the specific feature, bioluminescence, the property of emitting the light. They have a special type of cell which emits light. It is found only in case of ctenophores, not in cnidarians. So the sexes are not separate. The animal is hermaphrodite. The reproduction takes place only by sexual method. That means they have only medusa. They don't have polyp. This is very, very important. They have only medusa, no polypoid stage is present. Fertilization is external. That means it takes place inside the water, not inside the body of the animal. And the development involves a larval stage. That's why the development is indirect. The common examples are Pleurobanchia and Ctenoplana. So here I'll show you the structure of Ctenoplana and Pleurobanchia. Here you can see these are the comb plates. Okay, so these are the comb plates. And how many comb plates are there? There are 8 comb plates are there. And why they are known as comb plates? Because they have a comb-like structure. Okay, they have tena, or you can say the folds, because of which the comb-like appearance is there. That's why they are known as comb jelly. And they have only 2 flagella. Here you can see only there are, 2 tentacles. 2 tentacles only. And these tentacles are having the flagella. They are having flagellated cells. So in Cnidaria, the tentacles are having the cnidoblast cell or the nematocyst cells. but here only 2 tentacles are present, and these tentacles are having the flagellated cells, which also helps in locomotion. Along with this complete, the flagella helps in locomotion. Now this is the pleurodontia. Here also you can see these are the completes. So this is a jelly-like structure. The body is jelly-like and it is diploblastic. Here also you can see there are 2 flagella, and these flagella, 2 tentacles. These tentacles are having the flagella. The whip-like flagella are there, which helps the organism to swim in water. Then let us discuss some of the differences between Cnidaria and Ctenophora. Even though the Cnidaria and Ctenophora have most of the characters in common, but they also differ in many characters. So these are the differences. The Cnidaria, it refers to the phylum that contains the invertebrate with the specialized stinging cell that is present in the tentacle called cnidoblast, and the tentacle surrounds the mouth. But in Ctenophora, it is the which consists of the crumb jelly. I have shown you the picture, and the Cnidaria and the Ctenophora. If you look into the Cnidaria and Ctenophora, the Ctenophora shows biradial symmetry, and the Cnidaria shows radial symmetry. What is biradial symmetry? That means the body can be divided into 2 identical halves through the radius only in one vertical plane, because they are spherical, or you can say they are oval structures. So they have radius, but we can divide them because they have only 2 tentacles. So it is biradial symmetry. But since these are having even number of and large number of tentacles, so they have radial symmetry. And these Cnidarians are highly diversified animals, as they show different phases, like you can say that they are polymorphic. They are showing polymorphism, but they do not show much diversity, and Medusa is the common phase. Then the Cnidaria live in both freshwater and marine habitat, but the Ctenophora lives in only marine habitat. The Cnidaria show alternation of generation because they have both the polyp and medusa, but they do not. The Ctenophora do not show alternation of generation because they reproduce only sexually. There is no asexual reproduction, and they have the Cnidaria have polyp and medusa, but the Ctenophora has only medusa stage. Then the Cnidaria are sessile or free living or free swimming, but the Ctenophora are they swim by completes. They are free living. Then the Cnidarians contain an incomplete digestive system, but the Ctenophores have a complete digestive system. And the Cnidarians can be unisexual or hermaphrodite, but the Ctenophores are always hermaphrodite. And the Cnidarians are divided into Anthozoa, Hydrozoa, Cubozoa, Scyphozoa, and Stachyrhozoa. These are the 5 classes, but in the Ctenophora, that Tentaculata and Nuda are the 2 classes. And the common examples of Cnidaria are jellyfish, coral, hydra, sea anemone. And the Ctenophora, the common example is comb jelly. So in this part we discussed the phylum Porifera and phylum Cnidaria and Ctenophora. So in our next session we will discuss phylum Platyhelminthes, phylum Aschelminthes, and phylum Annelida. I hope you liked this video. Thank you for watching the video till end. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, comment and share. Thank you for watching.